do you think this is feasible to apply in Indonesia if we didn't use like the import or we just need export like this? Do you think it's feasible or not? Okay, you can open your microphone again, guys. Do you think it's feasible? Matan Abdillah Iskandar, do you want to say something?
Not really. Yes.
Okay, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss. I think it's possible to have food independence in Indonesia because we have many land and we also have a really huge of sea that we can feed ourselves from the even from the sea like fish and lobster and need our concentration and how to say uh, to build the food independence in infrastructure like 3 years ago I went to Aceh province. They plant in the beach is a coconut oil instead of the coconut, so that's the really that's not good things. I think it's okay, enough for me. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Palm oil, yeah, right. Indonesia have most of palm, so we can produce from oil to the palm. Okay, the next is mm, I can see right.
Can I?
Mr. Andre, can you give your opinion about it?
Okay. Sorry, I just came to here and I have no idea what the main topic. But if you call about the food material, it's mean the raw material. I think that Indonesia should not be import anymore because we have the resource, the natural resource. But for the distribution, we still lack of the technology and the transportation to distributing all of our material to the different island. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Warren Mosler, Mr. Aji. Okay, you
Yeah.
can.
Sorry, I cannot raise my hand because I'm host right now and record all of your discussion. It is possible. It is feasible for every country have this sovereignty on food. So really, it is tangible enough because we know that. Yeah, like previous speakers say, we have a lot of land and so on and so forth. We have a lot of factors that can improve, that can be used for creating that, for fulfilling the demand of food. But sadly, we have a degradation of land that can be provided for planting this pivotal foods, such as rice and so on and so forth, because there are a lot of businesses that comes from oligarch today that intervene the government for influencing for legitimize them using some portion of land, I guess, for planting such as palm oil and so on and so forth. And for the entire sectors, the entire oligarchs that always speculate the price of it, there are vicious circle that always happening in our country, especially creating the artificial dependency of food productions. In the situation, for example, rice, we can fulfill it. We have all of the resources for doing it. But since there are a lot of oligarchs that always use the import field for creating the profit, so they import in the time of was it, harvest. So the price fall down. They can buy the rice from our market and doubling the reserve. After that, when there is a scarcity, they sell it again to the market and they get rest of profit. So, and moreover, Indonesia has adopted austerity programs from our economic minister. So, in the situation when the debt we cannot pay it, debt won't be. So, public infrastructure has been privatized. So, in the situation, capital formation is not being created because that is too costly for distributing the food. I mean, this distribution for all of the area in Indonesia. So this is kind of complicated, I guess. But the possibility, yes, we can do that. But the question is there any political willingness for doing it or not, or we just let it go without intervening the political arena with doing such as transplanting. Sorry, was that infiltrating ourselves for entering the political arena and create the decisions that this is profitable for our society or this is unprofitable for IMF or for the oligarch that has been a long time to be a speculator. That's my opinion.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you so much for the complete opinion. And maybe someone, can you give opinion again? You can raise your hand.
Can I?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so regarding to the statements of Fatan's last time that is talking about the land, that talking about the raw materials, I just want to add some things that related with our food productions. It's talking about the human resources that we need. There is one of example. It's no more than 5 months ago, my cities Kota Rendang, Payakumbuh, got projects from get the project from religion minister, Menteri Agama, blah blah or something that support the food consumption for pilgrimage that who go to Hajj exactly. And back then, before Indonesian pilgrimage still get the opportunity to go to Mecca exactly. Yeah, we still survive how to make food production from Payakumbuh. It still can be sensed exactly. But the point in that time, one of the biggest problem that we got is the first is raw materials because we still lack of coconut oil. Sorry, we still lack of coconut is one of the raw materials from to make rendang exactly. So it's the reason that we did a kind of the collaborations with the several provinces. And the second is talking about that I mentioned before is talking about the human resources, that how to make that food itself, we need a lot of people. So almost same that talking about in the general thing, when we need something to fulfill our necessary needs, we need the human the sufficient of the human resources also to to succeed our food productions exactly. So this is my point.
Okay. Thank you so much. Raw material. We need raw material like in the manufacture. we need to understanding more about raw material for not just for coconut oil, for make a something like the bread or what again, mix for mix, natural mix. In Indonesia say masker, I mean like that. It need raw material for the make use what again, like kayu putih oil. We need to raw material again. Okay, thank you so much, guys. And in my opinion, import and export is very our needed because countries, including Indonesia, have two choices, choices regarding efforts to ensure food security, normally reducing or maintaining or increasing their trade barriers. So exporting countries must continue to export their commodities and importing countries can also have facilities that by reducing trade. And this will encourage global food and agriculture trade to continue despite to logistics. So we need logistics. If we didn't use import, if we want to make some bread, this is from how to say it gandum, gandum for make a flour. So we need to import because in Indonesia can plant this gandum. Okay, maybe it's for me. We can avoid importing goods. In addition to political problems, this economic will also have an impact on Indonesian food security. Maybe someone wants to give other opinions again. Raise your hand.
Okay, can I give my opinion?
Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Fatan.
Yes, I think one of Indonesian in the independence food problem is our dependent to rice. You know, like Indonesian people, if they want to eat, they need rice to eat. So we need, even now we need to import rice. If we can redesign this, that the carbohydrate is not only come from rice, maybe we can have a good balance on the carbohydrate in Indonesia. Like Papua people, they don't eat rice, but most of Indonesian, they eat from rice. So it's also one of the big problem. So if like before the other speakers said that if politics have uh, serious political willingness and seriously to make food independence in Indonesia, from the government and all the stakeholders need to redesign our infrastructure in Indonesia, not only logistic. Like I said before, what I said about Aceh before, Mr. Kibo said in West Sumatra they lack of coconut oil, they lack of the coconuts. But in many places, even in Aceh, like in the beach, actually they can plant many coconuts, but no one will buy from them because the price is not good. The good price is only for coconut oil. So why many people only care about plant coconut oil in, even it's not good for environment. No good price for rice, no good price for coconut, no good price for others plants. So that's why our farmers, even our farmers, don't have a good standard of wealthy and something like that. Thank you. That's all from me.
Can I add Patan?
Okay, please.
Yeah, I do agree with Patan exactly. So we have to move to what from rice exactly. I would like to invite you to one of the example what happened in French, especially in the 17th centuries when they got scarcity in food. So in that time, many people still trying to plant a bread, yeah, or wheat that become the food necessary of the people in France in the 7th centuries. But the King Louis in that time trying to promote, trying to give something new for the people to consume the new food that called by potato. In one of the best way in the 17th centuries that King Louis trying to use what the potato butthole with his wife Marie Antoinette to potato is the good food to be eaten in that time. So isn't that because of many people, yeah, many people saw eat potatoes, it trying to make the society also eat potatoes. Even though in that time the people still prefer to eat meat, cheese, bread, that in that time is almost got the scarcity. So it's one of the example also that maybe our king, Mr. President, our God, Joko Widodo, trying to give one of the example to the people how to be out from kind of the thing that called by rice. It'll be the additional what additional thing if someday we got the scarcity with rice. So when we got these situations and we can out from rice and we have many choices to be eaten, I suppose that it'll be it'll be the nice step for us to be get the food independence. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your adding for your opinion. And again, I will give the comment from Mr. Fatan. You said about palm oil, right, Mr. Fatan? So I think it's not mistake if it's not just palm oil, cause why Indonesia always plan and plan palm oil. I think because in term of chemistry, palm oil is palm, not oil. The plant of palm is more beneficial for our lives. You can produce from the fruit or until the what to say or the waste from the palm you can use for biocell or for the change to crude oil. So Indonesia is most of palm oil in here. And exactly my lecture said when I forget the years, yeah, in other countries is make Olympic, how to say, like the suppressor from Indonesia, whose Indonesia can export here the palm oil into other countries because sorry, Australia or America, I forget his uh, how to say, give the statement if palm oil is not good for our health like that. So they didn't want to export from Indonesia from for palm oil. So in there have to order oil like from the flour, uh, from the flour from other flour. So they just make own oil, not use palm oil. So it's make our for the farmer of palm oil will be very poor cause it. I think that's it. Okay, thank you so much guys. I'm so sorry. I'm the okay. The next is, are we actually independent enough when it comes to food? Did you get it, guys?
Mr. Wowo, is your place right now?
Okay, Mr. Wawa, can you?
Okay, maybe I want to answer the question before. Is it possible? What the before the question before? I
Yeah,
think
okay.
to stop export or import about food is impossible because because it's like because I see it in foreign political interest perspective. Like in the past, maybe you can read about Indonesian government before Sukarno sent a lot of rice to India, and India sent back clothes to Indonesia. Is a political relationship between two countries. I think import or export can be stopped because of the its political relation and political interest with other countries. On the other hand, that why it's impossible because it's like Indonesian government force one type of food as a national need, like rice. Maybe in Papua or in Sumatra or uh, in Sulawesi, they actually don't like rice, but our government forced them into national need as the basic the basic needs of food, something like that. So maybe that's it. I have a phone call to answer first. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Others opinion, please. Mr. Mail, okay, you can. Oh, I think you will give your opinion or just give thumbs up.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So, my first intention is that I'd like to give thumbs up to Wowo such speech, but yeah, given the chance, I'd like to also give
Sorry.
some responses toward the question. So, in fact, independence needs some parameters. So we need to know what kinds of the measures that we are going to use to to coach whether or not we are actually independent enough when it comes to vote. So yeah, probably some of you would like to give some parameters, whether it is actually the welfare or the well-being of the farmers or the freedom of the farmers to create such a policy to control their crop or their harvesting system maybe, or anything else maybe. Yeah, probably I just comment on that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So, once more, Mr. Ahmad Fatullah Afida Putra, can you give your share opinion?
Okay, thank you for the time. Firstly, I say a huge apologies that I cannot reach this place in on time. Um, Firstly, probably to answer this such question, I would say that Indonesia haven't had dependence in their food independency. I mean, because we are still exporting from other countries to fulfill our rice and the other substances such as for vegetables or the others. But um, if we make an assumption or maybe a case that we don't do any trade in global area, maybe have a huge pressure to face it, such as shortage of rice, so we will endure ourselves to find another resources such as cassava or the other substances. So to answer this, if we if we say there is no any pressure from our government or from our regulator in this nation, probably the independence, I mean food independence, cannot be reached in the reality. But if we pressure ourselves to do it, I mean we change our substances to the other substances. Probably I change my food from rice to cassava maybe or to other resources. Probably we can reach the independence of food, but it will face a bloody hell effort to do it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, nice. You can change from the rice to like other food diversification, yeah. More of a technology used for diversification, like the rice change from the, how to say in English, pohung or singkong, cassava.
Cassava,
Yes,
cassava.
cassava. Yeah, cassava. In my lecture is Prof. Yeah, from Kediri. He's changed from cassava into the flavor, and his name, the name of flavor is mocaf. You know mocaf? Mocaf is from cassava. It's very interesting. A lot of carbohydrates in there, and you can change to make model by rice. So this is like the seed for rice. You can eat, and this is for diversification. I mean, I guess. Okay, thank you so much for all of your participants who give the opinion. I will continue in this slide. So the figure you can see in this slide. Wait, I can see. Basic representation of food sufficiency. Okay, food products. The country above the line produce more food than they consume. And this is ring for food self-sufficiency line, the production equal with consumption. And below, countries below the line consume more food than they produce, food consumed. From this chart, maybe someone can give your opinion or you can give the statement. Mr. Mail, maybe you can give the clarification from this chart.
Okay, maybe we can give a short viewpoint regarding just how consumptive our own citizens when it comes to food and what kinds of food they consume the most. Okay, because basically there is a translation or there is a swift switch between the main food, like what has been said so far. It has to be rice, for example, or wheat, but now it becomes more something like you know, the different product of wheat, just like noodle or other type of junk food. So people with a different demand and different condition, different age, they also seek of something alternative, something that can be cooked faster or instantaneously rather than waiting for cook being, being processed for quite some time. So yeah, uh, in my opinion, Indonesia probably is like having less consumption in rice. Maybe, yeah. I'm not completely sure because so far when I look at the phenomenon right in front of my eyes, I see so many people prefer to have like instantaneous food or something like junk food that we can find easily in street stalls, yeah, rather than consuming rice with their families at home. Yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much. And others maybe I want to hear from underscore Kudori. Are you new to join this season? Okay, Mr. Kudori, can you give your opinion or what do you think about this? A lot of new page in here.
Yeah, yeah. Now I would like to give my opinion about the topic. At least if for food. In this case, if I mean the seller can open the food, but they have to obey the rules because of this pandemic. At least we have to obey the rules, and it will make the circle about the economic run well. And in this pandemic, there are so many people are jobless because of they cannot work, and there are so many companies are closed. So it's better selling. It's better of selling food by obeying the rules than we don't do anything. That's it in my opinion.
Thank you so much. Okay. Why you smile? Why you laugh? Okay, guys.
I'm not sure with my opinion because I have just joined.
Just share your opinion and you can speak out for decision. Because later I'm present, but I didn't understand all of my presentation. It's okay, never mind. Okay, guys. The problem from the years to the years, just always about rice and rice. The big problem for import. Because we know Indonesia have lots of farm, but something like how to say I'm sorry again. Like the trouble for the transition from the distribution and from the farm to contribute to in the like the market or in other rooms like that. So just it. Okay, you can see in this slide a lot of news about crisis pangan, and in here until 3 years later krisis pangan will mengancam dunia, because maybe this is about pandemic or whatever, but crisis, yeah, thank you so much. So it's more important to knowing about food security maybe, and about how to say food sovereignty. Mhm. Trade, and thank you so much, Mr. Mail. And in here you can see new normal. Is, is it new hope or new threat for Indonesia for self-sufficient? Anyone? Can you give opinion again? New normal. This is the main question. Okay, Mr. Aji, Warren Mosler, time is yours.
Yeah, Mr. Afida first, and then me.
Who's? Can you repeat again?
Mr. Afida
What the
first,
hell?
because he has his hand.
Mr.
Okay,
Fatan first. Okay,
Aduh,
okay.
I'm confused with you guys.
Miss Rani is the moderator, so you could choose.
Okay, Mr. Afida.
Okay, thank you for the time, Mr. Rani. First, I want to say that it is not related to the circumstance happen here about the Indonesia food self-sufficient. Um, the first related to the definition of Indonesia, I mean food self-sufficient itself. Is it related to the individual to sufficient his own food without any help from the other people, or a community could sufficient their own food without any help from the other communities? So when we define Indonesia food self-sufficient as a community that can self-sufficiently do it by their own self, that we see related to the data from the PPS, related to the our production in the rice maybe. Um, Regarding to the data, we have twice the food, I mean, rice production more than the demand. I mean, um, that happened in early of April and in the end of August, just in both of that time, because the production of the um, farmers from the early of the year, and they will gain in the end of April, and then the second period in the mid after the April and until the August. So what happened after the August? Farmer tend to produce their land. I mean, manage their land to plant other food resources such as cassava and the others. Why? Because we find the other season that is the, how to say kemarau in English. It's related to that, because our farmer mostly use. I mean, depended on the season. So when we don't face, I mean, when we face the less rain condition related to the climate, so the farmer cannot produce. I mean, minutes the land to to produce something that essential for Indonesian citizen. So after August until the end of the year, probably Indonesia will import from the other nations, which they find the rain or the climate um, that that can manage their farmer to plant or maybe harvesting rice itself. So it will be hard for Indonesia for gain food self-sufficiency related to the new normal or not, because we face about the climate. And I will not say about climate change because in climate, we know that there is El Nino and La Nina are probably related to the iodine positive and negative that happen in the India, how to say, Samudra Ocean and Pacific Ocean that um, highly impacting our season in Indonesia. So it's it's slightly hard to Indonesia to find food self-sufficiency when we face about the season or the climate that happen in Indonesia. So when we want to have a food self-sufficiency, probably there are two ways to solve it. The first that I propose is related to the food diversification, which every citizen need to find their own food, or probably they can produce their own food. Probably we can find a community that I mean which eat one particular uh, essential, probably such as a nut or the other substances, or probably a community that just produce something that they can eat. So yeah, when we want to have, I mean, when we want to find Indonesia food self-sufficient, probably it's not related to the new normal itself. So I choose the hope. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You are welcome. Who's again? Mr. Warren. After that, Mr. Fazan.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to give a brief story back then in Bolivia and a lot of country, Indonesia today. Bolivia back then had increased hugely about their GDP, and also they export more about the food, cocoa, and so on and so forth, coffee. But sadly, the malnutrition in that time increased also. Uh, I mean, the social security had been raised at the time because they have no money on that. So the question is, uh, in sovereignty of food consumption or production, it is relating with distribution factors. Who own the distribution sectors? When we look at Indonesia, it is have the similarity with Bolivia. But then, what is that? A half of our capital formation had been controlled by the foreign. We can see in EPS, Statistical Bureau in Indonesia. Since foreign have a lot of intervention for intervening our production and our distribution, so they only extract our natural resources, our food, to to go abroad, and at that situation create, like I mentioned before, artificial dependency. for import. So it is, export and import is inevitable for every country. But the situation, we have only just only loss and reducing our power in our currency, especially in exchange rates. So we have no choice except restructuring it all in politically or economically. But in this time, I just want to give a brief answer about this question. Yeah, this is our opportunity for creating food sovereignty, especially doing the inward-looking economy. Of course, in the global supply chain, it is good for having the relationship with the other country, especially for fulfilling each other about the food production. But it is best, I mean, it is better, still better, having that supply chains inside, I mean, domestically from our country, because there is no risks for having crowding out of economy, for having, yes, it is a detrimental effect in global sectors. So I think that is a good idea. And for example, my proposal is, what should we have to do for inward looking? Okay, I give a metaphor. Don't make such a market being the last resort of our economy. Create the government as the last resort of our economy. How to distribute goods and services, how to maintain it, and so on and so forth. For example, Bulog. Bulog control the supply and demand of rice, right? When there is a huge production of rice and there is a low demand, so Bulog will buy it to make the price still stable. But suddenly, Bulog only control for rice, not for the other commodities. So it is good proposal for pressuring Bulog, maintaining not only one commodity. Maybe 10 biggest important commodity should be controlled by Bulog. So it is kind of stabilizer for creating the sustainability of production, of consumption, of distribution, and also for the price. So this is a good opportunity for us, I mean, this time, because in the agricultural sectors, there is no risk for being infected by the COVID, because automatically most of farmer, most of peasant will do self-distancing in the field. So this is good opportunity for us, especially we have a lot of capital for land and resources for doing it. Okay, that's it.
Okay, Mr. President, thank you so much. And so first, Mr. Fatan Abdillah,
Okay.
prepare to speak out. Okay, time is yours.
Yes, thank you. COVID-19 is the deglobalization. So the numbers of export and import in the world is really become lower. I just watched before the biggest beef plants in America, they stopped the production because many of their workers is got suspect COVID-19, so they stop the plants. So also they stop the export to many countries. That's also in Indonesia, import from another country to Indonesia. I think there's many import has already stopped. So if it is a new hope or new trade for Indonesia food self-sufficiency, it's a new hope. Even it's not new, it's always hope. Now, as long you can eat every day in Indonesia, so I think Indonesia food self-sufficient enough. We food independence enough, but is that sustainable? That will be the question. So, because now with the kurban and everything, we can the kurban cow or goat is came from our farmers, right? So actually, maybe we can feed ourselves. But the problem is about the mentality of our government, because maybe some of their import policy is not because to help the farmers, but because they got advantages from that. They got money from that. For example, for what you import Brazil chicken, you know, the news about the chicken from Brazil. That's, I know in Japan we always eat Brazil chicken, then that's really cheap, even cheaper than Indonesia. In Japan, the price is cheaper in Indonesia. If that import in Indonesia, the farmer will, no, they don't need feed the chicken. They don't need plant the chicken. So we need to import the cow from India if we have really much farmers of cow, goat, and everything. This uh, our government prefer to build our own infrastructure, because to build our infrastructure, that's a long-term investment. Maybe need 10 or 20 years to BEP, but import, when they become government, they get money from that, so they do the import. So, and I think Indonesia weather climate is one of the perfect climate in the world. We don't have snow, right? We don't have winter. In here, Japan, they also import, but they can self-sufficient. But the farm they need to build the glass house, how say, rumah kaca, glass house or something, because they have winter. So Indonesia is better than many countries in the world, and that's our hope. Last point, I think talking about food independence, we don't focus also in production and distribution. We also need to focus to food waste. So after we eat, we need to eat all our food. Don't waste it, because I read in some sources, if only the 25% of food waste problem solved, so we can solve the food independence problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Food waste and food loss. I always read about food waste and food loss because this is very dangerous for ours. We know, like in the how to say, Palestine or in the Yemen, they're very need for the food. But in Indonesia, have a lot of food, but suddenly we didn't, how to say, finish our food in our plate. So this is very not not good for environment. Okay, thank you guys. I will next decision. Slide, I mean, intro. Okay, on one hand, proponents of food self-sufficiency defend the political right of states to insulate themselves from the vagaries of world food markets by increasing their reliance on domestic food production. In here, on the other hand, critics argue that there are high costs to state that priorities political over economic consideration in setting their food policies. Are you agree or not? And why if you agree and why if you are not? Because we know food self-sufficiency is often presented in policy cycle as the direct opposite of international trade in food, and is readily critiqued by economists as a misguided approach to food security that places political priorities ahead of economic efficiency. Okay, I open discussion again. Are you agree or not? Okay, Mr. Raji, can first.
Uh, okay, since I was a Marxist, I do agree with this, I guess. But other than that, I give my own argument on this. When we look at all of the paradigm in economy today, that is fictitious. It means this kind of bullshit only serving the interest of the hegemony country, or maybe for the creator country, or maybe for some speculators that really get a lot of advantages from export and import, for example. So when I look for the cases of comparative advantages that had been proposed by the Ricardo back then, This concept only for gaining extract the raw materials from other country for benefiting the industrial company in England. The situation it is kind of same with the other countries throughout of this world. Indonesia had been extracted for mining, so maybe for palm oil and so on and so forth. So we don't have benefit on that. We just yeah, of course, there is a kind of wealth production in that, but it's only for the few people that control that land. So it is kind of opposite. Opposing the international rule, international legislation or not. Yeah, it is other question. But for having the sufficiency uh, of food, we can ensure that our economy will be more sustainable, will be more stable without having this crowding out of the economy, without getting such as vulnerability for the price and so forth. So uh, economic efficiency today is defined about how hegemonic country get raw materials, get food, for example, in the cheap price, not for creating the sustainability mutual benefit from the developed country with developing country. So maybe I guess I do agree with this. Yes, this is.
Okay, just it. Thank you. And maybe Mr. Mail, can you give your opinion, share opinion, but agree or not?
For the given time. In my opinion, I believe that um, it depends on the situation. So the government needs to be more cautious and accurate in positioning the conditions of our citizens, of our people. I mean, like whether or not our farmers is actually can be relied on. I mean, like we need to look at the ability of our farmers in harvesting or planting something. So if we assess them as someone that is couldn't afford to provide enormous number of crops, so I guess relying on political policies in when it comes to trade to political trade, or it's like international trades, to buy something, to import something from other countries, might be a better options for our country. Because so far the farmer was left behind, and there's no strong connection, that bonding between the governments, the farmers, and also universities, as well as the one that produce, or something that can sophisticatedly elevates the quality of the crops of the farmers. And even though I know that there is a rise of some corporations that is established by some first day students, related to to become the middleman between the local farmers as well as the society, as the last resort of the market. But I guess it is not enough. I mean, like the governments need to do more than that. Okay, I think that's my opinion. Thank you.
Overall about government and government again. Right. Okay. I will next because I didn't have word for give my statement, guys. I will show you about videos. Like video. Where is the video? Right. Okay. Okay. Can you hear this video?
Please repeat again, Miss Renee. Stop it
Yes.
and then close first because there is no voice, I suppose. I couldn't hear the voice.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, you stop the share screen first. Then if you want to share screen, there will be ada apa? Ada kayak centang di bawah kiri kiri bawah itu di laptop itu ada
Oh,
centangnya dua
I'm
dua
not.
hal itu di pojok kiri laptop. Sound from the laptop agar bisa terlihat gitu, agar bisa terdengar, that it can be heard.
For the audio, yeah. Oh my God. I will try again. Still same. Um, Mr. Mayu, can you continue again? Repeat.
Yeah, I guess it's okay as long as it is
Ah,
visible. Because
okay, sorry guys, I can't to see so your video. Hmm, maybe I will continue the next slide. I'm so sorry. Maybe I will share the link for the WhatsApp group, yeah. You can see after this session. And the next is, do you believe to make sure nation food independence we need to rely on the import? This is like the question, right? Okay. I want to other person to give the opinion. Uh, Miss Egi Laura, do you believe to make sure nation for independence we need to rely on the import?
Okay, can I give some opinion?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, according the belief or the to make this sure nation food is we need to rely on the import. I'm sure that it's nice because in the COVID-19 is we know many people back to the village and they do the food independence and buy the some essential like the food price to sell. And we know that we're not talking about this they're living in the traditional remote village. Maybe food self-sufficient is many Indonesian who find themselves in the modern setting to and but they are still find a way to integrate their tradition and cultural value into the contemporary lifestyle. And some people still consult traditional to determine a good day and to the business. And many young many young people and professionals still throw the traditional food for the ceremonies or wherever the families demand or their own tradition. And I think that traditional is still alive. Mm, even we don't accept the import from the another country, maybe we don't need it anymore for the someday, and maybe as maybe they are the archipelago is Indonesian is rich with herb and the spices, and which is the set traditional recipe to utilize the abundant to of this ingredient food. In fact, we know many Indonesian dishes may comes out the strong to the tourist towns, and maybe many tourists like this disease from Indonesia, like the recipe. According the main recipe in the area like the Javanese, and for instance, then the Javanese they like the food like sweeter and meals to the abundance of the cane and palm sugar. And many other locals like Padang, Manado, and Bali, they sure hit not back on only higher for the chili and spices for the ingredient of food. I'm sure that it is the new hope for the profit for the Indonesia on the new normal, and we can handle it. I think that is the we can believe it. This sure nation food is can make your our new hope for the new normal. Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, you're welcome. So again, I want to hear from Mr. Angga Kusuma. What do you think about it? Do you believe to make your nation food independence we need to rely on the import?
Thank you for the opportunity. It is actually the unfortunate questions in my opinion, because I believe that we need to be independent regarding food self-sufficiency. We need to be able to produce our own rice, our own food for our own societies. But when we take a look at the priorities of our government right now, especially before the pandemic happened in Indonesia, they prioritized another sector besides food itself, like infrastructure and the building of many. I mean, not really important in the villages like companies, mining companies, and so on. It made us not independent in terms of food self-sufficient itself. And when we look at the current situations right now, when the pandemic, especially COVID-19, is happening and worsening right now, it is opening the bad situation, the bad circumstances of our food self-sufficiency. Therefore, right now, the government try to develop our own food, right? That's why when we look at several situations or several areas, I forget where they are, but nowadays government are trying to open many lands in several areas. But I'm afraid actually from this program, because it happened in New Order era, in Suharto's era, when government tried to open many new lands for planting rices, for example. They displaced many lands um, used by peasants and indigenous people back then. They didn't utilize the potential of indigenous people. In fact, they brought many peasants from other places outside its place. Like you would like to plant trees or rices in Papua, but the government back then sent the farmers from Java. So it replaced the place of indigenous people in that places. So to tackle this situation, I believe that right now the government should, in fact, utilize or harness the potential of uh, peasants in their own places to develop their own areas. But it is kind of difficult for me when we are looking at situation nowadays, especially several years ago, governments had a tendency to displace their lands, and hence many agrarian conflicts occurred, right, several years ago, because government replaced the um, lands of indigenous people in several areas. And nowadays, my conclusion is it is so difficult, but when we have an ability or seriousness to change it, we need to be able to do it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, maybe we didn't just import, yeah. Not all we use import, but we must create our supply from this country, so we can take
Yeah, yeah.
advantage of this year. Huh? Yeah, sorry, what?
I agree. I agree with you.
Like the urban farming, so always eat cassava, not always rice, ya kan? So
Yeah.
what to say, very expensive if we always, what to say,
Sagu, betul saya
membeli.
sagu. Ya.
Why? Sagu. What to say sagu? Sorry guys. Sago. I see in the translator is sago. Or you can eat the corn or
Yeah.
getuk, lindri, so like that. So we didn't need import. Always import. Actually like that.
Yeah. Our
Okay.
predecessor actually did that, right?
Okay, nice. Okay,
And
guys,
they
I
could
will
live.
continue. Oh yes, because a lot of
They could
carbohydrate
still be alive.
and very cheap for our people, our person in Indonesia.
Yeah, that's right.
Continue, yeah. Agree or not, and why? Uh, this is, you can see in the cycle, like the in the gray, food insecurity is linked to inequality, not lack of production. It's a question of justice. And in here, to ensure the right to healthy food for all, we need to adopt social measures like universal basic income to help tackle poverty and redistribute wealth. Okay, Mr. Mael, what do you think about it? As
Okay.
always, Mr. Mael.
Before giving my own responses, I guess Mr. Afida would like to give his own viewpoint. Okay. Okay, yeah, the floor is yours. Thank you, by the way, giving me chance.
Okay.
Give me time.
Okay,
um,
Mr. Ahmad.
okay. Thank you for the time. Anyway, I'm slightly hard to understand this kind of question about agree or not. Probably could you give me a simple question related to this what motion? Maybe agree with what, or what do you ask actually?
Okay, Mr. Mael, can you help me for this question?
Can I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, Mr. Raji, please help us.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Raji. I'm so sorry, guys.
Okay. What is the question before I explain about this? I forgot the previous slide. You believe? Okay. Next. Um, yeah, for the previous question, yeah, it is depend when we live in it. When we live in, for example, in Scandinavia, or when we live in, just say British, yeah, we should import some of grain, wheat, or maybe rice, because there is no land there that can produce it. So for them, it is important for getting imports. But for us, it is not, because we have all of the resources for providing it, for creating it, for producing it. Yeah. Okay, I will explain quite a bit about this. Food insecurity is linked to the inequality. Okay, um, when we give the proposal about the UBI is universal basic income. It means that the government share, I mean, the money for all of the society without creating such as output in that situation, just creating only demand supply. Yeah, that is good actually, but other than that, I will promote the job guarantee. Because when I look at the situation, when the government creates demand for the economy without giving, such as imposing for creating the output also for the supply, it is only creating the inflation. It is because uh, there is no readiness for the production sectors to fulfill it. So when there is huge demand and there is no output, of course, it will creating the markup for example, for the biggest company that control, I mean, that handle that production sectors. So rather than choosing for universal basic income, I prefer for creating the job guarantee, or let's say the other non-accelerating inflation buffer employment ratio. In the situation, as government, we can create such as a fixed wages for all this unemployment. I mean, reducing it and creating the proposal that they should produce something in order to get money from the government. For example, I can give up my purse as a government for producing, I mean, for creating such as institution that will produce uh, uh, that food. So we can employ the people, we can hire them, they will create output, and also we can create such as self-sufficiency for them with paying their effort for doing that. So there is no inflationary pressures. It will increase the demand along at once with increasing the output. So it is only increasing the GDP, our power of our economy, without getting inflationary risk. So that is basically the reasons. Of course, where the country has a sovereign currency, it is so easy for delivering such as wealth to from the rich to the poor. But we should know one fact: government is like a vehicle. When we couldn't control it, we will be controlled by them. So in the situation, for example, I will give the discretionary about um, different groups in our political arena. The first is elites that we call sometimes oligarch. The other is majority. They have opposite interests on this. So for example, for the tax redistribution, oligarchs need less. We need much. We need more for the tax redistribution. So it is impossible for creating this policy. It means creating the equality and so forth, delivering the production and demand equally without controlling the first the government. The government, when it is controlled by the elites, they will do some such as detrimental behavior. The first, when we have no de facto political power, I mean, we couldn't able creating the power from the external of the system. We just demonstrate sometimes with doing the fame for the country. Of course, they will do the reparations. We couldn't able for protecting ourselves from that. Except when we have massive of movements on that. And creating the common enemy, it is a good reason for it. The second behavior for them is doing the concession. When we have huge power for pressuring the government, when the government is controlled by elites, they will do concession, win-win solution. But when win solution is still creating the detrimental effect, of course we should overthrow the government and control that vehicle that we call government for implementing our value and our interests, and that is consolidation from the majority. But come back to this question again. I'm not agree. I'm not agreeing with his remarks because it is have a risk that I've mentioned before, inflationary risk. So universal basic income is good for small community, but for the whole of the society, as a macroeconomist, so I prefer for choosing the job guarantee for creating the self-sufficiency to all of the society, hire them, not put them as an employment. And of course, in the situation, we can create this policy, public purpose from our tax, because tax has a function for redistribute the wealth, for example. We can use the fiscal instrument for creating the equality. And of course, for the stabilization of the government, we should create an institution that can stabilize the price with supplementing the supply and demand of that commodities. So this is good reason for me for choosing the job guarantee rather than universal basic income. Maybe this is a basic understanding of this. Maybe the other speakers will give their opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very, very long. I can just, okay, but not understand more. Okay, Mr. Afida. I think you more understand and you can give your opinion, please.
No, that okay. First, I will not give any what opinion related to the Mr. Warren Mosler idea, but here I just want to answer the question. Okay. So for me, there is no any relation between food independence and food and import, because food independence is related to the definition itself. So the way of a community or person to sufficiently make or produce their own food by their own self. So there is no any help from the other side. But when we talk about food security, it's slightly different from food independence. Food security is related to one community to the other community. So when one community sufficiently fulfill their own essential, such as rice or the other, but they get it from the other nation or from the other community by trading or by any other action. So it as long as they can sufficiently fulfill their own essential by those way, so it will be food security. That is in my point of view. It's related to the definition of food security and food independence and their distinguishment. And now related to the agree or not related from this motion. First, food insecurity is linked to inequality. Well, I will make an example, a simple example. I don't have a food, and my friend have a food. So, will it be unequal between me and him? As long as he want to share his food to me, so there is no any problem here. But when he but in case that I need a food, but I don't have any food anymore in my community and in myself, but other community has their own food and they can produce it by their own self, but they don't want to share that to me. So it will be appear as a inequality between one community to the other community. It's related to the food itself. So, well, I mean, this problem was solved by your own answer in this slide. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next speakers. Okay, Mr. Angga, you can say your opinion.
Thank you. So, in this economic crisis, in which many people are being unemployed nowadays because they just got laid off by many companies who closed their business, right? So I do agree with this program, um, like universal basic income, because it can keep their purchasing power to buy goods and something. But I believe that it is only in the short term or in the short run. But in the long run, in my opinion, we need to improve. We need to accomplish we need to improve the agriculture sector in Indonesia nowadays. So when we um, deal with another pandemic, we will be more ready. We will be readier than nowadays, right? So how to improve the agriculture sectors? In my opinion, from now, the governments, in my viewpoints, need to give lands from peasants, from farmers, especially for farmers who only have a little lands in Indonesia, meaning that we need to complete the agrarian reform in Indonesia, where many farmers should be able to have their own land to produce lands in Indonesia. Secondly, um, not only lands, but the farmers also need to have their own tools to produce their lands, like methods, tractor, how to say tractor, and others. It is very important. And another thing that government should do is to link their products to real market, to direct market, right? Because nowadays, as we can see that many farmers are lazy, are reluctant to produce their own lands, to produce their own paddies, because they don't have enough advantages from planting that productions. So meaning that in the long run, the government, the authority need to accomplish, tackle the situations. So in the future, when we deal with another pandemic, I believe our agriculture sector will be readier than nowadays. Thank you.
I mean, you're welcome. Okay, notice. Mr. Fatan, you wanna say something?
Yes, I
Okay,
want to say something.
okay, you can.
Yes, food insecurity is linked to inequality. I agree with this. Like I said before, this about for example, is a food waste that, like, for example, we can order food by GoFood easily, and maybe we eat some and we waste some of our foods and just throw it to the trash. But in other side, there's also many people that they don't have they even don't eat for 1 2 days, even 3 days. So that's called inequality in Indonesia maybe. But in the case of Indonesia, not lack of production, I don't agree with this. I believe Indonesia is really lack of production in case of food, in case of agriculture. So we need to reform our food production, but we have all the resources, we have the land, we have the the human resources, because we have so many jobless right now, right? So we need to bring them to the farm and make as many as they can. But we need to build the reform the agriculture by design by the government, because you cannot just give the tractors to the farmers, because in many cases the farmers they got the tractors and they sell it because they need the money, not tractors actually. So the case is the money is not the tractors, is not the tools. They need the markets. So the government need to find the market. They need to to make the distribution. They don't let the cartel or capitalization control this. Government need to control the price so farmer can get good advantages from that. So young people also want to do farmer things, something like that. So I also want to answer the previous question. We can rely the import. In this case, we need to focus, maximize our strength, not our weakness. So we need to increase our export. I think one by one of our commodity need to be surplus. For example, rice, we need to be surplus so we can export the rice. In the case of beef, we need to surplus so we can export the beef. In pilgrimage, there's every year 5 million people in Arab Saudi that need to feed. Now the biggest import of the Arab Saudi is from New Zealand and Australia for the beef. Uh, that's a pilgrimage for Muslim people, but the food is from non-Muslim people, from non-Muslim countries. So I think that's only little example that Indonesia have lost so many chance to fulfill the world's demands, even maybe also our demands. Thank you.
You're welcome. I agree with you, Mr. Fadan, because yeah, many have reserved equipment but have not been able to optimize their use. Like you know, Selepan in Java, Selepan, their half the farm is half they got the Selepan but didn't use for all their after the produce. So everything from the start from farm. I don't know how to say Selepan. So this is they just need a market. So it need a suitable market. So they are not disadvantages. Thank you so much for all speakers. Next. Okay. Will GMO be a proper solution for food crisis? Maybe someone want to give share opinion. I want to hear from Miss Livia Setiawan. After that, Mr.
Hi.
Tommy, maybe. Okay.
Is it my turn? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I wanna uh, tell in here since all of the people already explained a lot. But I just see from another funny perspective and maybe unimportant. But I saw that if you are most of us becoming a vegan, like a vegetarian, there will not be a hunger in this world because one of the main problem from our lack of food supplies it's because of the massive industry of uh, breeding animals like chicken, uh, cows, and sheep maybe because to breed an animals and to make beef or chicken or meat we need to feed them a lot, right? Since they were a baby until they grown bigger and ready to be used for meat, they have to eat a lot of vegetables, and it takes a lot of time. And we also knew that eating too many meat can cause a lot of disease like heart attack, cholesterol, and also sometimes diabetes. Oh no, diabetes is come from too much rice, and also yeah, many kind of chronic disease that we can avoid when we are being vegetarian. So I think being vegetarian is crucial for our food supplies also. It can reduce a lot of unimportant uh, wasted vegetables that are being harvested just to feed the animals, and it can make us healthier as a human, since nowadays is COVID-19 pandemic always haunting us. So we have to become more healthier than before. We have to create and build a positive lifestyle, like eating much more vegetables, drinking more water, eating more unprocessed food, and it can help our country a lot for us not to burden our economic more by eating too many kind of meats and food, unhealthy food like processed food. Because nowadays in our culture, we can see in YouTube and also Instagram, there is a lot of YouTuber that making this kind of mukbang content. I don't know what the essential of the mukbang actually. You're just watching people eating for the whole of the video, and you are being hungry after that. When actually we are not hungry before, but because after we watch them eat a lot of looks like delicious unhealthy food, so we become infatuated and feel that, oh, maybe that's delicious, I want to buy it next day, and I want to buy it tomorrow. I have to try it so I can become an updated people. I can follow the trend, because there is a lot of trend in food industry also, right? And a lot of food blogger also always introduce us and makes us feel uh, itchy if we don't try the new restaurant, the new food. But it's gonna make us become a little bit obese, I think, because it makes us feel hungry, not because we are naturally hungry, not because our body needs the food, but because our eyes needs the food, needs to feel, needs to satisfy ourselves. But it's from not from our body, it's from our mind. So I think the solution, one of the solution to reduce the and to uh, reach the food independence in our country during this difficult situation, yeah, just by reducing our eyes to see the mukbang YouTube contents and etc., food vlogger, something like that. Just maintain our food diet. I think the best one is not eating 3 times per day, but just 2 times per day. If you can manage the nutrition and make it balanced. And I also not prefer cassava, because cassava, uh, if you cannot process the cassava in a clean and in a proper way, it can be poison. It can be toxic also for our body, especially when you eat it raw. So never eat cassava raw. You can diverse from the rice to potato or corn. Yeah, maybe one of you ever heard one of our friend, like our tutor in GE, they lost around 20 kilograms during COVID-19 pandemics because he eat uh, corn rice, corn rice, to change as an exchange from the normal and the common rice, because common rice contains a lot of sugar in the itself, in the rice itself. So better we change our daily consumption from rice to corn or potato, maybe, since potato have the same amount of carbohydrate like rice, but they have a higher fiber that is very good for our digestive system. So it can make our digestive system become more clear and clean. Yeah, that's just from me. Sorry for being too long. Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. Yeah, right. Maybe you can go to fasting like the Testing doubt. It's more beneficial for us. Okay, again, I want to hear from Mr. Tommy Soy. What do you think? Will GMO be a proper solution for food crisis? Mr. Andre, this is Tommy. Is Mr. Andre or not? Indra. Indra or Andre?
No, it's different. That is Mr. Chibo.
Okay,
Okay,
what's your
so
opinion?
yeah, so actually I have started the point that talking regarding to the GMO in the first time. So basically, I'd like to repeat again the meaning of GMO is it's like the result of the laboratory process where genes from DNA of one species are extracted and artificially forced into the genes of the unrelated plants of animals. The foreign genes may come from bacteria, viruses, and insects, animals, or even humans. So regarding to GMO, give the positive thing or negative thing. So it depends basically. So let's start regarding to the positive thing of the GMO. Basically, if we are totally what yeah, it's totally common if we talk about GMO. The several food that you have mentioned is like corn, is like golden rice, and they are created by the GMO system exactly. So is the reason that the healthy food that you mentioned before that make it's like Livia mentioned before that make one of the tutors in global English get good diet is coming from GMO. Is coming from corn, right? So the process of the corn is because of GMO. So is one of the first example that I give to you that GMO will give the beneficial for the people. And the second is like they will give the resistance for pesticide exactly. So yeah, so it's like a pest is one of the biggest problem of the peasants. So because of the GMO, so it will trying to avoid one of the biggest problem that they face. And the second is it's like it tried to increase the productivity of the peasants. It's because of GMO also. It tried to what yeah it tried to help the peasants when they can plant a kind of food, a kind of um yeah, the kind of the vegetable is not based on the weather. So if there is a GMO, it'll try to help them to plant a kind of the food, a kind of the vegetable without thinking about the weather. So it's the reason that they'll try to give increase the productivity, especially for the peasant if they use the GMO. And um, yeah, GMO is what is one of the beneficial things, especially for the countries like South Africa. Yeah, is the countries that related with drought. Yeah, something that is not is not it's not prosperous. It's like our countries that everything that we plant it'll be good. So it's the reason that there is the idiom that tried to mention batu dan kayu bisa menjadi tanaman and others, but it's not for the several developing countries. It's like South Africa and others. So it's the reason that GMO will try to help the several countries like South Africa that's related with drought. And the second is like, and the second I would like to talk about what the negative thing of the GMO. Maybe you know, right? The GMO is trying to destroy our environment because it's trying to disrupt the balancing of the environment. So it's the reason that it's one of the negative thing of the GMO. And the second is for the several people that doesn't have what how to say that because there are the several people there are the several humans that they will get the allergies when they consume a kind of the foods coming from GMO. So it's not all of them will be safe if the people yeah if the people consume the GMO foods and others. And one of the biggest problem, yeah, today we talk about food. One of the biggest problem if we still trying to develop GMO, and others, it'll trying to Yeah, it will be possible to before it's like make a new weapon and others. So it's the reason that we have to limit it the GMO to be the thing that is really positive for us. It's not to be negative thing for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the Mr. Palmi or Mr. Kibo. And the last, I want to hear from Mr. What's again? Kusuma have done. Afida. Where is Miss Afida? Mr. Afida, I'm so sorry. Mr. not Miss.
Okay, Afida Putra. Okay,
Okay.
thank you for the opportunity. Firstly, um, it's related to the GMO. What is it? So it is not an ingredient, not a franken food or processed food, but it's related to the product of a breeding process. Anyway, every organism that modified, I mean genetically modified by human, are GMO. So when we make a modification from one organism to be and change to be the other organism that we cannot imagine, so that will be GMO. Let me see about GMO in our life. Do you know banana? Yes, banana. When we child, probably mostly when we eat banana, we will need a seed, a little seed. But now we cannot find it. What was happened? Um, when we make a comparison, 10 years ago, when we want to eat not melon, a watermelon, yeah, watermelon. Um, we chop it and we need to remove the whole of seeds that spread out in the watermelon itself. So it will be hard to us to eat it easily. But now, by the modification of those organisms in the market, mostly we cannot find watermelon with very much seed inside it. So GMO actually give a huge impact to our advancement in terms of food. So for me, will it be one solution for our crisis? Yes, I would say yes. But I give an affirmation to Mr. Tommy Soy that it will be harm to our, I mean, such as our security in terms of our nation, yeah, national security, such as we make it as a weapon or the others that we don't know. Because sometimes scientists make those organisms will be hard to be eaten by pests. So it will impact to the food web in nature. So in nature will be impacted by the GMO appearance. So because I'm a kind of person that agree with ecologism or the other that related to the um who is it actually related to the um adaptation and the change of the human evolution related to the evolution. Probably when we make a new GMO, the past will be modified too, because they will adapt to anything that they face and how to survive to face the GMO itself. So for me, GMO is one of solution, but there are new problems that we need to tackle to solve GMO future problems. So how to solve it? That is our, I mean, scientists' problem that they need to solve first before we make a new GMO to the future. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I will add my statement. Oh my god, my camera. Okay. The aim of the engineering is to create sustainable agriculture activities provide higher yields to feed the world's growing population, reduce the use of pesticides, help meet two challenges of climate change, provide more nutritious food, and make farming easier and more profitable. So this is like the aim from GMO, I guess. Okay, guys, because this is limiting time, maybe one person is again wanna say anything before I close this session.
Yeah, let's give Aji GMO's food. Let's make population will be decrease.
100. Oh my god, I have no idea about the animal overpopulation. Maybe I can monopolize it and create my own surprise. Maybe you can continue it first. I have no idea about the GMO because I'm not so mastering in this field. Maybe in the last time you can let to all of the participants, to all of the speakers to give their last statement. Yeah, that's from me. I have no idea about GMO.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Okay, in the last slide. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, I will give the coach. I don't know this is right or not. I just write down in here. By creating food independence, we have become heroes for the independence of our country. By Renia Apriliana. Just it for me. And thank you so much for attended. Stay tuned in here from the start until the end. Thank you so much, guys, and hopefully you will very nice until the end after this season, and you will going be happy. And thank you so much. Just it for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, host Mr. Mail, time is yours.
Photo session, photo session.
Yo, with new hair, man.
Station, yeah, let's do that for the station first.
Who will take a photograph?
Mr. Mail.
Egi Laura.
You did it. You please.
On your camera.
Ah, Egi Laura.
Mr. Amida.
Let's take a picture like Egi
Me?
Laura.
Oh, where are you anyway, Mr. Mail? Your face is not appear my desktop.
You take his own hair.
The hair
Okay.
winner at 12.
Okay.
Healthy.
Under my count here. Okay, Mr. Mail is appeared. Okay, now 3, 2,
Hey, wait, for
1,
Egi, man. Egi 3.
and smile.
Reni used to
What's
our
up?
food.
Okay. Do you need more?
Yes, of course.
We need one more. We want
Okay,
more.
wait. I want to close my. Okay. Okay. Again, yeah. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay.
That's good.
Once again, please. Once again, please.
Once more.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, once more. Thank you.
Yeah, once more.
Okay.
Ah, good.
Under my count. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Nice discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Nice
Kibo
to
is
meet
not
you.
Kibos anymore. Let me call you.
Not Kibo anymore. No, Kibo is
I don't know,
Komisoy.
Because of fucking Duta Bahasa. Don't like
Oh.
this shit.
You will be the winner.
You know? Because there's conspiracy inside
Hey,
of that.
guys.
What
Guys,
will be happen after Duta Bahasa?
I'd like to share some of the vocabularies that I just wrote for today's discussion. I'm sorry for my unstable connection. So here it is. Can you see it? So the first one is autarky. It is, okay, wait. So Turkey is a nation or entity that is self-sufficient, or yeah, or an economic system of self-sufficiency and limited trade. And minyak kayu putih, eucalyptus oil, cutting edge, sophisticated, treatment, mengancam, dry or drought, kemarau, pest, hama, mortal enemy, itu bebuyutan, central bureau of, how to pronounce it, bureau or bureau of statistic,
Bureau.
no.
Biro.
Biru.
Bro.
Whatever it is. Okay. So yeah, that's the meaning of bypass Badan Pusat Statistik. And then middleman, tengkulak, proponent, pendukung. It's like you know alternative food, you know something. If makanan pokok is like staple food, but proponent is like alternative one. Vagary, tingkah laku yang aneh atau janda. Sagu is sagu. Yeah. Agrimotor or tractor is tractor, and selepan is rice grinder. Okay, so you can change up to you. Probably wet grinder, meat grinder, rice grinder. Grinder it means selepan, but it's commonly to be used for rice. Okay, so for the grammatical accuracy, probably like when I heard they can produce by their own self. Yeah, own it means self, self it means own. So it's like double words for the same meaning. So it has to be like they can produce it by themselves, for example. Okay, and so far I have a really exciting night to have discussion with you. I'd like to congratulate and appreciate you all. And thank you, and would like to say sorry for anything that is feel lack, and I hope that we can improve our discussions in the next Saturday, the next week, inshallah. Okay, so for the last time, I say thank you so much, and see you next time, and bye bye, good night. So we say at the end of the discussion, Ota.
Yesterday you say tomorrow.
You say tomorrow.
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sunny. Thank you, Miss.
Yeah.